On September 17, 2021, at a NATO training facility over the North Sea, an incident was about to unfold that would send shockwaves through the international fighter pilot community. Exercise Joint Warrior was in full swing, one of Europe's largest military exercises, bringing together forces from over a dozen nations. The skies were filled with some of the most advanced military aircraft in the world. American F-35 Lightning IIs, European Eurofighter Typhoons, French Rafales. This wasn't just routine training, this was where the best pilots proved their skills against the best technology. And on this particular day, a scenario was set up that everyone assumed would have a predictable outcome. Two American F-35 seconds, the most expensive and technologically advanced fighter jets ever built, were tasked with intercepting and engaging a single British Eurofighter Typhoon. The F-35 seconds had every advantage. Stealth capabilities that made them nearly invisible to radar. Sensor fusion systems that gave pilots a complete picture of the battle space. The most advanced avionics money could buy. Each F-35 cost over $100 million. The American pilots were confident. Some observers were even questioning why this drill was being conducted at all. It seemed unfair. Two state-of-the-art stealth fighters against one older fourth-generation aircraft. The outcome appeared certain. But what happened in the next 12 minutes would stun everyone watching. The British Typhoon pilot didn't just survive the engagement, he dominated it. Both F-35 seconds were defeated in a display of flying skill and tactical brilliance that left the American pilots speechless. When the exercise ended, there was complete silence on the radio. Nobody could believe what they had just witnessed. If you want to know how a so-called outdated aircraft destroyed two of the world's most advanced stealth fighters, how the pilot turned every disadvantage into a weapon, and what this reveals about the difference between technology and skill, then hit that subscribe button right now. Because this story proves that in aerial combat, the pilot still matters more than the plane. The setup seemed simple. Two F-35 seconds would approach from different directions, using their stealth capabilities to remain undetected until the last possible moment. They would coordinate their attack, catching the Typhoon in a pincer movement with nowhere to escape. Standard tactics for a numerical advantage. The F-35 pilots had trained extensively for this. They knew their aircraft's capabilities, they understood stealth tactics. They had the technological edge. Victory seemed guaranteed. But the British pilot had something the Americans didn't expect. Experience. Thousands of hours flying the Typhoon, deep understanding of the aircraft's capabilities and limitations. And most importantly, a plan that would exploit the F-35's greatest weakness. The engagement began with the F-35 seconds approaching from opposite directions, maintaining radio silence. Their stealth technology was working perfectly. The Typhoon's radar was having difficulty getting a solid lock. On paper, this is exactly how the scenario should unfold. The stealth fighters remain hidden until they're in perfect position to strike. But the British pilot wasn't relying on radar. He was watching for something else entirely. Vapor trails. Thermal signatures. Subtle visual cues that technology can't hide. And he found them. Instead of running or trying to engage both F-35 seconds simultaneously, the Typhoon pilot did something unexpected. He turned directly toward one of the F-35 seconds and accelerated. Hard. The Eurofighter Typhoon has one capability that even the F-35 cannot match. Raw performance in a turning fight. The Typhoon can pull tighter turns, sustain higher G-forces, and outmaneuver almost any aircraft in the world. This British pilot was about to demonstrate exactly what that means. The first F-35 pilot suddenly found himself in a situation he didn't expect. The Typhoon wasn't running. It was attacking. Aggressively, the British pilot closed the distance at incredible speed, forcing the F-35 into a defensive position. And here's where the F-35's design philosophy became a disadvantage. The F-35 is optimized for stealth and sensor fusion. It's designed to engage enemies from beyond visual range, using advanced missiles and radar systems. But in a close-range turning fight, a dogfight, the F-35 has limitations. It's heavier than dedicated air superiority fighters. Its maneuverability, while good, isn't exceptional. And when facing an aircraft specifically designed for agility, these limitations become critical. The Typhoon pulled into a high G-turn that the F-35 couldn't match. The American pilot tried to counter, pulling his aircraft as hard as he could. But the Typhoon was already inside his turning radius. In aerial combat, this is called getting on someone's six. Positioning yourself behind the enemy aircraft where they cannot effectively engage you, but you have a perfect firing solution on them. The first F-35 was defeated. In a real combat scenario, the Typhoon would have fired a heat-seeking missile at close range. The engagement would be over. But the exercise wasn't over. The second F-35 was still in the fight. approaching from a different angle. The American pilot had watched his wingman get defeated and adjusted his tactics. He stayed at longer range, trying to use the F-35's sensor advantage. But the British pilot had anticipated this. Instead of turning to engage the second F-35 immediately, he used the Typhoon's incredible acceleration. The Typhoon has a thrust-to-weight ratio that allows it to accelerate faster than most fighters. The pilot pointed the nose down slightly, gained speed, and then executed a maneuver called a high G barrel roll. This is where the physics of aerial combat become fascinating. When an aircraft performs a barrel roll while maintaining speed, it changes its position in three-dimensional space in a way that's very difficult to predict or counter. The Typhoon spiraled through the air, simultaneously gaining separation from the second F-35 while positioning for another attack. The American pilot tried to track this movement, but the Typhoon was moving too fast and too unpredictably. Within seconds, the British pilot had repositioned himself for another engagement. The second F-35 pilot now faced the same problem as the first. The Typhoon was closing range, forcing a turning fight. The American tried to extend, to gain distance and reset the engagement, but the Typhoon was faster in a straight line at this altitude and configuration. The British pilot stayed with him, matching every move. Then came the decisive moment. The Typhoon pilot executed what observers later described as one of the most impressive maneuvers they'd ever seen. A post-stall maneuver that used the Typhoon's thrust vectoring and aerodynamic design to essentially stop in midair, rotate, and point directly at the pursuing F-35. In less than 3 seconds, the Typhoon had gone from being chased to having a perfect firing solution on the second F-35. The American pilot had no counter. The Typhoon was directly in front of him, in perfect position to fire. The second F-35 was defeated. The exercise was over. Total time elapsed, 12 minutes. Both F-35 seconds had been shot down by a single Typhoon. The radio silence that followed was deafening. The exercise controllers didn't quite know what to say. The American pilots were stunned. They had trained extensively in the F-35. They understood its capabilities. They had numerical advantage. They had technological superiority. And they had lost completely, not by a narrow margin, not because of a lucky shot. They had been systematically outflown by a pilot in an aircraft that many considered inferior to the F-35. After landing, the debriefing session was intense but professional. The American pilots wanted to understand what had happened. How had they been defeated so thoroughly? The British pilot explained his approach. He had studied the F-35 extensively. He understood its strengths and weaknesses. He knew that the F-35 excels at beyond visual range combat but has limitations in close-range dogfighting. So his strategy was simple: force the fight into close range where the Typhoon's superior maneuverability would dominate. But strategy alone wasn't enough. The execution required exceptional skill. The British pilot had over 3,000 hours in the Typhoon. He knew exactly how hard he could push the aircraft. He understood its flight envelope intimately. He could perform maneuvers that existed at the very edge of the aircraft's capabilities. This level of expertise cannot be programmed into a computer or bought with a bigger defense budget. It comes from years of dedicated training and experience. The incident sparked intense discussion among military aviation experts. Some argued it proved the F-35 was overrated, that stealth and sensors couldn't compensate for inferior dogfighting performance. Others countered that the scenario was artificial, that in real combat, the F-35 seconds would engage from beyond visual range, never allowing the fight to become close range. Both perspectives have merit, but they miss the deeper lesson. This engagement revealed something fundamental about modern aerial combat. Technology provides capabilities, but it doesn't guarantee victory. The F-35 is an extraordinary aircraft with capabilities that the Typhoon cannot match. Its stealth allows it to operate in environments where the Typhoon would be detected and engaged. Its sensor fusion gives pilots situational awareness that older aircraft cannot achieve. In many scenarios, the F-35 would have significant advantages. But technology has limitations, and those limitations can be exploited by skilled opponents who understand them. The Eurofighter Typhoon was designed in the late 1980s and early 1990s. First flight was in 1994. By 2021, it was over 25 years old as a design. Many analysts had written it off as obsolete compared to fifth-generation fighters like the F-35. But this engagement proved the Typhoon remains formidable in the right hands. The aircraft was specifically designed for air superiority. Maneuverability was prioritized over stealth, agility over sensor fusion. And in a close-range engagement, these design choices create significant advantages. The Typhoon's engines produce enormous thrust relative to the aircraft's weight. This gives it exceptional acceleration and climb rate. The aerodynamic design allows it to maintain energy in turns better than most fighters. The fly-by-wire flight control system enables maneuvers that would be impossible with mechanical controls. All of these capabilities existed in the original design from the 1990s. They haven't become obsolete just because newer aircraft exist. What this engagement demonstrated is that different aircraft excel in different scenarios. The F-35 is optimized for stealth strikes, electronic warfare, and beyond visual range engagements. In those scenarios, it would likely defeat the Typhoon. But the Typhoon is optimized for air superiority and close-range combat. In those scenarios, it can defeat even the most advanced stealth fighters. Understanding these differences is crucial for military planners and pilots. There's another critical factor that this engagement highlighted: the importance of training and experience. The British pilot who flew this mission had thousands of hours in the Typhoon. He had trained against various adversaries. He had studied different aircraft and their capabilities. He had developed tactics specifically designed to exploit the Typhoon's strengths while minimizing its weaknesses. This expertise made the difference between victory and defeat. The American F-35 pilots were also highly trained professionals, but they had less experience in their aircraft. The F-35 program has faced numerous delays and challenges. Pilots haven't had as many years to accumulate flight hours and develop expertise. Additionally, much of F-35 training focuses on its advanced systems and beyond visual range tactics. Dogfighting receives less emphasis because the aircraft is designed to avoid those situations. So when forced into a close-range engagement, the American pilots were operating outside their primary area of expertise. This raises important questions about modern fighter pilot training. As aircraft become more technologically advanced, there's a tendency to focus training on systems management and beyond visual range tactics. Basic flying skills and dogfighting techniques receive less attention. But this engagement proved that close-range combat skills remain relevant. An adversary might find ways to force the fight into close range. Technology might fail or be countered. In those situations, pilot skill becomes the determining factor. Since this engagement, various air forces have adjusted their training programs. More emphasis is being placed on dissimilar aircraft training, where pilots practice against opponents flying different types of aircraft. Close-range combat training has received renewed attention. The assumption that stealth and technology eliminate the need for dogfighting skills has been questioned. This single engagement influenced training policies across multiple nations. The incident also affected procurement decisions. Some defense analysts had argued that countries should only invest in fifth-generation stealth fighters like the F-35. That fourth-generation aircraft like the Typhoon were becoming obsolete. But this engagement demonstrated that fourth-generation fighters remain highly capable when properly employed. Several countries reconsidered their aircraft purchase plans, opting to upgrade existing fourth-generation fleets rather than rushing to buy expensive fifth-generation aircraft. The Eurofighter Typhoon continues to serve with multiple air forces including Britain, Germany, Italy, Spain, Austria, and Saudi Arabia. The aircraft has received continuous upgrades throughout its service life. Modern Typhoons feature advanced radar systems, improved weapons, and updated avionics. While not as stealthy as the F-35, the Typhoon remains one of the most capable air superiority fighters in the world. And as this engagement proved, it can defeat even the most advanced opponents in the right circumstances. Looking forward, this engagement highlights the complexity of modern aerial combat. There is no single superior aircraft that dominates in all scenarios. Success depends on matching the right aircraft to the right mission, training pilots to expert levels, and developing tactics that exploit your strengths while targeting enemy weaknesses. The British pilot in this engagement did all of these things perfectly. The story also serves as a reminder about respecting your opponent. The American pilots likely underestimated the Typhoon before the engagement. It was an older aircraft without stealth capabilities. They had numerical advantage and superior technology. Victory seemed certain, but underestimating your opponent is always dangerous. The British pilot used that overconfidence against them, forcing a fight where his advantages would dominate. This engagement has become a favorite topic in fighter pilot bars and online aviation forums. Videos and analysis of the tactics have been shared widely. The British pilot who flew the mission has become something of a legend, though his identity remains officially undisclosed due to military protocols. The incident is now taught as a case study in air combat schools around the world. For the F-35 program, this engagement was embarrassing but ultimately valuable. It revealed limitations that needed to be addressed. Subsequent training programs placed more emphasis on close-range combat. Tactics were developed for F-35 pilots to avoid being forced into turning fights. The incident drove improvements that made F-35 pilots more effective. The lesson from September 17, 2021, is clear. In aerial combat, the pilot still matters more than the machine. Technology provides capabilities, but skill, experience, and tactical thinking determine outcomes. The most expensive, advanced aircraft in the world can be defeated by an older design flown by an exceptional pilot who understands how to exploit every advantage. If you found this story fascinating, I have more incredible military aviation stories exploring real documented incidents. Stories of tactical brilliance, technological evolution, and the eternal competition between offense and defense. Check out the playlist to explore these true stories. Thank you very much.